Hi everyone, welcome to the 10th video in my series of True Chilling Tales. This is the most current chilling tale that I actually have to share with you, and it's also probably the hardest one to believe. So it's probably gonna take me a little bit more time to express all the information to you. So stick with it because it's got a really interesting twist at the end. So I'll start off by telling you that in the deep fall of 2005, it was in November, I had picked up uh, a CD. Well, it was I needed a new. My CD player was not working. I needed a new CD player, and I picked up this used alarm clock radio CD player at the Goodwill, the local Goodwill in Port Angeles, and I brought it home and I was really pleased with it. It looked really new and it looked really cool, and I was really pleased with it. And excuse me, as you can see, she gets jealous and vies for my attention. So anyway, I had picked up this CD player and had no problems with it for the first couple of weeks. And a few weeks after I had it, I was at home one day, and I remember I was in my kitchen in my little apartment, and all of a sudden I heard this sound, and it was it was the alarm to this radio that I had bought. And in the weeks that I had had it, I had never set the alarm. I never even set the clock on it. I had only used it to play CDs. But, I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was some kind of a technical electronic glitch or whatever. No big deal, right? And I was really happy it happened on a time when I was home because it was really loud. So I was just thankful that I was at home to shut it off. And I remember that happened again, maybe a week later. And again, I didn't really think anything about it, really. Um, so one night, early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning. I think it was like 5 in the morning. It was really early. I was awakened from a dead sleep to not the sound of the alarm, as I had heard the first two times, but I had a CD in the alarm clock radio. And I woke up right at 5 to my CD being played. And the CD player was actually in the living room area of my apartment. So I, jumped out of bed and got up and turned it off. And I wasn't even, it didn't freak me out. Again, I still wasn't really thinking about it in terms of anything unusual. I just was thinking of it in terms of maybe some kind of an electronic glitch or something. I don't know. And plus, I was in a dead sleep, so basically I heard this noise and it woke me up, and my reaction was to just turn it off and go back to sleep and not really contemplate it. So I remember getting up and turning it off and going right back to bed and falling asleep, and it came on again. And it woke me up again, and I got up out of bed a second time to go turn it off. And just before, I had my finger just before hitting the stop button, but my finger didn't actually touch it. I was just about to hit it, and it stopped all by itself. And that's when I knew, okay, there's something going on here. And again, because it was so early in the morning and I was in a dead sleep, I basically just went right back to sleep. And in the morning when I woke up, I normally my thing would be to listen to music while I was getting ready for work. And I remember specifically getting up and being like, I'm not messing with that stereo today. So I remember not listening to any music in particular that day. And I also vividly remember before leaving to work, unplugging the stereo from the wall because I didn't want it to go off or play music while I was away. And no joke, I came home from work that night, and the fucking CD player was plugged into the wall. Excuse my language. But that really freaked me out. I mean, I remember being like really tripped out by that. So of course, I would still listen to music going forward, but I would then unplug it every night so that it wouldn't go off, and did that for several nights, maybe even weeks. I don't remember how long, what the time span was, but there was one night that I actually forgot to unplug the CD player, and so I fell asleep with it plugged in, and again, it went off super early in the morning to the sound of the CD player. So what's odd to me about that is that it first was going off like the alarm, and I had never set the alarm, and then it was going off as if the alarm had been set to play the CD player, to play the CD. But again, I had never messed with it, so I knew that there was some supernatural activity going on in connection to the clock radio, and um, so the really trippy, chilling experience that took place was after all of this had happened. Um, I oh, and I was still living at 1115 South Lincoln Street, the apartment that I told you about a few videos back. You may remember. So um, anyway, I had these little experiences with the CD player, and they were disturbing, but it didn't really freak me out. I mean, that much. It was something that happened. It was weird. It was odd, but you just carry on with life. And what I need to tell you is that on the day that this really strange thing took place that I'm about to tell you, I had gotten that. Well, I came home from work on this particular night, and I had listened to a uh, an EP. It was a Madonna EP with 6 tracks on the CD, and the CD was one of those totally silver CDs. There was no artwork on it, and it only had like 5 or 6 tracks. So it was like a little mini album, and that's what I had listened to getting home from work in the evening. And then the next morning, I took that CD out and put it back in its case, and I listened to a completely different CD. Actually, more than one. I think I listened to 2 or 3 CDs and took them out, of their case, put them into the CD player, took them out of the CD player, put them back in the case, and then I left, and I was gone all day long. And I didn't get home until the evening. And up north in the fall and in the winter, the sun goes down very early, so that by 4 o'clock, it's like the sun has totally set and it's dark. So I got home at some point in the evening. I don't remember exactly when, but I remember that it was dark, and I was again listening to some CDs, different CDs. So I had all of these CDs had gone in and out of my CD player from the course of the past 24 hours. And I was in the shower listening to my. I had brought in the little CD player and set it on the toilet, which is kind of silly. But I used to always, that was my little routine, was to take the little CD player and stick it on the toilet and listen to music while I showered. And so this particular night, I was in the shower, and I had this overwhelming feeling that there was a presence watching me. And I've never felt anything quite like that before or since, but it was just this overwhelming sense of, I felt like it was right in the shower with me. I mean, that's how intense it was. And I was doing my best to like really tune it out and telling myself it was just my imagination, and but it was really, really strong. It was a really strong urge. I don't know if any of you have ever felt somebody watching you or something watching you, but it's not a pleasant feeling to have. And so I was trying to tune it out, and I was trying to focus on the music. And then when I got out of the shower, the feeling kind of stayed with me. It didn't go away, which again was kind of weird. And I remember doing my best to tune it out, and like doing my best to kind of sing along with the music, and I was being silly, like I was naked in the mirror with my little fake microphone trying to dance in the mirror and sing or whatever, and still having that feeling as though I were being watched. So I got dressed, and my routine was light some candles and get my dinner ready, and I was gonna like settle down and watch a movie. So I had my dinner going, and the candles were lit, and I had at this point I had a completely different CD. I had all these CDs I had listened to, and this was a full 12-track CD with black and gold artwork on it, and um, I was taking the CD out because I was gonna watch a movie. So I went to the CD player and I took out the CD, and I had the one CD in my hand that it had been playing, and I walked halfway across my living room to my CD binder, and now this is the part that most people have a hard time believing, but honest to God, every word is true, and this is something that I really experienced. As I was halfway across the living room, something happened to my arm, and there's no words to describe to you what it was. I have no knowledge and no way to really express to you what happened. But my attention was drawn to my arm, and I almost want to get a CD to I should have been thinking ahead and gotten a CD to show you what I'm about to show you, but I'll use coasters, so you can just pretend that these coasters are round instead of square. But I was holding the CD kind of like this and and holding it flat and going across the room, and all of a sudden my attention was drawn down, and as my attention was drawn down to my hand, the 6-track CD, the silver 6-track CD from the night that I'd been listening to 24 hours before, it just all of a sudden protruded out from underneath the other CD that I was holding, and all of a sudden I was holding 2 CDs, and it literally just manifested out. I mean, it was one of the most astounding things I've ever experienced, and I remember stopping dead in my tracks and looking over at the CD player and looking back at the CD binder and looking down at my hand, and I could not wrap my mind around what had just happened. And I was thinking, well, was the CD somehow like stuck in the CD player? So I actually had kept the CDs in my hand as they appeared, and I went back to the CD player and I set them back into the CD player just as they were, and I closed the CD player, and the CD player registered the 6-track CD from the night before. And I had just been listening to a 12-track CD, and then I realized that I had been listening to all of these other albums within the last 24-hour period. All of these CDs had gone in and out of my CD player. And so I remember just realizing that all of these experiences that I had had with this CD player, from the alarm going off to the CD playing to it being plugged back into the wall, they were all things that I was kind of ignoring. Like I didn't really want to acknowledge that there was something going on, and so I just kind of was dismissing it and ignoring it. Even the feeling of being watched, it was so strong and overwhelming, and it was still something that I was pushing away and kind of ignoring and turning a blind eye to. And this thing that happened with the CDs was something I could not deny. There was no way that I could just tune that out at all. And so I remember realizing that there was some powerful shit going on. This was crazy, and I remember just saying out loud, "Okay, you want my attention, you got my attention." I remember that I sat down on the floor. I was almost in shock, and my back was against the front of the couch, and I just said out loud, "You got my attention. What do you want?" And I just kind of sat there in shock, and I was extremely disturbed by what I experienced, and so after a few minutes of trying to process what had just transpired, I tried first calling my best friend, and I tried calling another good friend, and neither one of them picked up their phone. I needed human contact at this point. I needed to talk to somebody, and so the third person that I called was my friend Amber, who was my third roommate at 409 Lopez, who I've mentioned her in a previous video. And so I called her, and she picked up the phone, and all I said was, "Amber," and she said, "Ronnie," and I said, "Yeah," and she said, something really strange just happened to you, didn't it? And I said, yes. And she said, I just picked up on it. I'll be right over. So that was kind of a trip as well. So Amber shows up, and Amber is totally the kind of person who's had spiritual experiences, and she's really, in tune with kind of supernatural, psychic, metaphysical things. And I told her what happened, and she she couldn't believe me. I mean, it was too much for her to grasp, and she was really trying to explain it away and say, well, there must be some logical explanation. And even to this day, I don't think that she really fully believes me. I've asked her about it, um, and I understand why she doesn't believe me. I don't think that most people do. I didn't hardly believe it myself. Had I not experienced it, I probably wouldn't believe it either. But I did experience it. I mean, the CD literally, one moment I was holding one CD, and the next moment I was holding two, and the second one just pushed itself out from underneath the first CD. And I've experienced a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of things, as you know if you've been watching these videos, but this one was by far the most disturbing thing I had ever experienced, and the most shocking and the most astounding. So Amber came over, and she ended up spending a couple of hours with me. I remember I didn't want to be alone, and so after talking about it and me telling her about it and us conversing about it, we watched a movie, like a 2-hour movie. And after the movie, she was still hanging out, and all of a sudden I got a phone call, and by this time it's late. By this time it's like, 11 o'clock at night or something, and it was my friend Amy, who was a good friend of mine from high school and from the past, and we were still friends, but we had kind of fallen out of each other's lives, and we didn't really connect that often or hang out that often. And so she kind of just called me out of the blue and wanted to hang out. And again, that was kind of odd. The whole evening, everything seemed so surreal to me and strange. And so I didn't want to be alone, and I thought, well, the more people I have over, the better. So I said, sure, come on down. You know, she didn't live very far from me. She just lived up the hill, and so she came over, and Ember was still there, and I told Amy about what happened with the CD player, and she was fascinated by it. She was really intrigued by the whole story and by the CD player itself, and I made it very clear that I was going to get rid of the CD player the next day. I had this idea that I was going to like wrap the CD player up, and I was either going to drop it in the ocean, or I was going to go up like a mountain and throw it over a cliff or something. But I wanted to get rid of this CD player so that nobody could ever use it again, because I didn't want anybody to be messed with by. I felt like there was something attached to the CD player since I picked it up at the Goodwill, and I picked it up used, and I hadn't experienced anything of a strange or paranormal experience in 2 years, since 2003 when I first moved into that apartment. So I'd had this sort of 2-year period of quietness, and all of a sudden this is happening, and I just ascribed it to the CD player. So anyway, the night that this took place, it was in that time period between Christmas and New Year's. So it was really the last days of 2005, and I had an entertainment center with my TV, where my TV was and the DVD player, and on the top of it, I had some Christmas cards, sitting up as decoration. And Amber and Amy wanted to go outside and smoke, and they wanted me to go down with them. And at first, I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker, and it was cold. It was winter time. It was really cold. So at first, I was like, I don't want to go. You guys go smoke. And then they were getting ready to go out there, and I just realized I didn't want to be up there all alone, even while they went to go smoke. So we all left together. And I went outside to smoke with them. And when we came back up into my apartment, there was a Christmas card, and I remember that it was a Christmas card from my friend Chris, who used to work with me. And the Christmas card had been sitting on top of the entertainment center, and when we came in from the girls smoking, it was sitting perfectly on the floor, directly in front of the entertainment center, just as if somebody picked it up and set it down. And there's no way that I believe that it fell. There was no draft. My apartment opened into the hallway, so it's not like there was any draft when we opened the door. And the Christmas cards, none of the Christmas cards had ever fallen over. And even if for some reason it had fallen over and fallen to the floor, nobody will ever convince me that it landed, right side up, face up, perfectly as it was up on the entertainment center. So when we came back in and I saw this card, I told Amy, you know what, take the CD player. Because at first she wanted it, and I was saying, no, you can't have it, I'm going to go destroy it. And then when we came back inside, I was just like, you know what, you can take this tonight, take it with you tonight, I don't want it in my home at all anymore. And so she ended up leaving that evening, and she took it with her. And I never experienced, all the activity stopped in my home. I didn't experience anything again from the day that I moved. And the times that I've asked her about it, she's told me that she hasn't experienced anything either. Go figure. So what that's about, I don't know. Whatever was there stopped bothering me when the CD player left, but it never bothered her. Not fair. I think she thinks the same thing. I think she really wanted something to happen. But having had those experiences, I certainly did not. I had had my fill. I had my share. I wanted to be left alone, and that's what I got. So I'm really glad that it went with her. But unfortunately, it's been a little bit of a frustration for me, because the story is so unusual and it's so astounding, and it is truly a hard story to believe. It's hard to believe that a CD just kind of manifested itself in my hand, but it really did. I experienced it, I saw it, I felt it, and I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to share it with you. So this video actually concludes the True Chilling Tales series in terms of my life experience. If I have any other experiences, I will make sure to make a video and post it so that you can see it. And going forward, I'm really hoping to keep this series going, and what I would really like to do is connect with friends, family members, and acquaintances who I know have had experiences, and have them share it with me on camera. So if you're watching this, and if you know me, and if you're interested in sharing a story with me on camera, I'd really, really love to hear about it. So feel free to contact me, leave a comment on my Facebook wall, or message me, or contact me via my YouTube account, whatever. Again, as I stated in the first video, I really want to use this as a platform to sort of break the social taboo that says that it's a taboo to talk about strange, unexplainable, supernatural, paranormal things that we've experienced. I think that the more that we talk about it, the more that we can realize and understand that there's a lot more in this world than what we experience with our five senses. So, having said that, this concludes my video. Thank you so much for watching them. I really appreciate your feedback. I really appreciate your interest. And take care and be well, and stay tuned. I'm hoping to have some new videos with some new stories very soon. All right, take care and be well.